Well, first of all, I appreciate his candor, his response. He's upset. He and I spoke yesterday. We spoke briefly, and he's upset about a few things, and he was upset about how things were interpreted. But he also accepts responsibility for how he made himself look by looking the way that he looked on the sideline, although nobody knew what he was saying, and that is definitely commonplace. I spoke to Teddy Bruschi last night when I was hosting a special edition of SportsCenter, and he said it's not uncommon for that kind of stuff to go on the sideline. But I think the bigger issue here is to speak about the Steelers collectively and how that's contributed to the frustration of Antonio Brown. The reality is clear. They're not the same team with Randy Fichtner as the offensive coordinator as they were with Todd Haley. Todd Haley is an exceptional offensive coordinator. Whether you like him or not, whether he's a bit eccentric or whatever the case may be, he's an exceptional offensive coordinator, and everybody knows that. And he did a fabulous job of making sure that a multitude of individuals were targeted and touched the ball. That's not necessarily the case right now. It doesn't appear to be the case, but it is the case. Antonio Brown still targeted more than anybody else on the team. He's got less yardage than Juju Smith-Schuster, and we get that. But the flip side is the play calling. It's the play of Big Ben Roethlisberger. It's Roethlisberger's communication or lack thereof with Antonio Brown and others. I mean, it's just one of those situations where it just appears to be a different environment. And because of it, there's a lot of dysfunctionality that's raking through the Steelers organization right now. And one of the things that I said, and I said last night on that SportsCenter, is that there's a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers in the National Football League. It would happen to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's the difference. They play together. The Steelers are not playing together. The Kansas City Chiefs are about team. The Steelers appear to be about themselves, and they better get it together because their season is on the brink. Their defense, meaning their secondary, looks like straight garbage, okay? Kansas City obviously going against them in time with Cleveland didn't bode well for you. But in the end, what it comes down to is, like I said, one's a team, the other's a collection of individual parts disguised as a team just because they're wearing the same uniform. And that is what is frustrating Antonio Brown just as much as everything else.
My takeaway after hearing from AB is that he is image conscious. There was a very unflattering article in ESPN's The Undefeated on Antonio Brown and how he is image conscious, but the images that you see on Instagram, for example, from Antonio Brown do not match with the reality. And I think there was that out there. And then you start hearing, I called him a prima donna on the air, as many top wideouts are. And he's tweeting, that he will trade me and find out. He's not saying trade me, but he's saying, well, if you really think that about me, you'd find out if you traded me that it's not Ben Roethlisberger hasn't. And I think he eventually realized, an image-conscious person, wait a minute, this is getting away from me here. Antonio Brown has put up the kind of numbers and has had the kind of career so far. Jerry Rice wasn't the most talented receiver ever, but he is the undisputed GOAT. Antonio Brown's not the most talented wide receiver of his era, but he's putting up the kind of numbers that it's not unthinkable that one day he'll be challenging Jerry Rice for the position as who is the greatest receiver of all time. I mean, he's put up Jerry Rice kinds of numbers. If this continues for a bunch more years, he's going to be in that conversation. And I think he is image conscious. He's realizing he's not doing himself any favors the way he's presenting himself.
How is he presenting himself on Instagram? I don't follow him. I'm just curious. What are they saying that who he's being his best representative?
You can read The Undefeated as a family man and all these things. And read The Undefeated article. I recommend it.
Okay.
At least to get that point of view, that there's a disparity between what he presents. By the way, as there is with everyone, and what you present to the world and the reality, it's never as.
I don't think it's about what you. I think that some people are more real than others. I certainly, for example, I use myself. I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. This is who I am, and that's the way it's going to be.
But you're not
some people care about it, though.
But you're not going to. That's true.
It,
you care less about it than many people I have met. He, I think, maybe cares more, but about the way he is perceived.
But don't wide receivers usually do that?
Many do, but what I like about what he did here is he thought, okay, the message is getting away from me here. I need to clean some of this stuff up. You know what? I shouldn't have responded this way. Yes, I'm upset about this. This is why. It's not about my personal numbers. I'm trying to win. That's all good.
But one of the things that I wanted to also piggyback off of, Max, is he said, it ain't about the money. I don't care about the money. Now, most people think that when you hear that from an athlete in particular, they're lying through their teeth. Let me tell you why a lot of times they're not lying. And I use myself as an example. You know the two key words in all of that is direct deposit. I don't think about the money because I know it's there. Once I know it's coming, I ain't think about it. You understand? So now, all of a sudden, what you're focused on is everything else. And he has to go out on the field. He's got his money. He's under contract through 2021. It's not a money issue. It's about the fact that I'm getting paid this money. I have proven through my work ethic and my level of production, 5 consecutive seasons, 100-plus receptions, over 1,200 yards, universally recognized one of the top 2 receivers in the world. Why am I having these issues? And that's where the image comes in, because he's like, wait a minute. There is nothing on my resume that says I should be in this situation. There is nothing on our resume that says we should be in this situation.
Question for you as a Steelers fan,
sure,
and as someone who's in touch with various members of the team.
Okay.
Do you think, like, I like the fact that he thinks his image is getting away from him. I don't mean that to be a negative thing.
Right,
like, he's image conscious and it's getting away from him. Do you believe when that happened just now, Antonio Brown looked at himself and thought, I got to look at what I'm doing, and that was genuine, or it's simply for public consumption?
I think it's for public consumption in this regard. I think that he has a problem with a lot of other people rather than himself. He knows he's not flawless, but he believes that his talent, his production, combined with the work ethic that he puts in, makes him a minimal part of the problem, whereas with others, he don't feel that way.
Right,
that's what I think. I don't know that,
tough to
but that's
argue.
what I think.
When you work like Antonio Brown, what you have to get that good, it's tough to argue with a guy saying, hey, these guys aren't working the same way.
Keep in mind, our very own Ryan Clark works here, a Super Bowl champion, a former teammate of Antonio Brown, who has been critical of Antonio Brown in the past, and even he says, one of the hardest workers I've ever seen.